hosted by Mike, the Big Cheese.
Welcome back to the Heavy Metal Mayhem Radio Show. It is Sunday, June 18th, and a very happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there, or to the fathers that don't know their fathers yet. Have a happy day today, guys. It's been a busy day. Besides Father's Day, it was also my grandson's christening, so I'm exhausted. And we have two live guests tonight. Paul Revay from Draxxis is up first, and Richie Scarlet in the second half of the show. Right there, Tension with Shock Treatment. I love these guys. Such a big fan. I saw them live when they were called Deuce. I think it was 83 at Lemoore in Brooklyn, and they just blew me off the stage. I became big fans of them, and like naturally a year or two later they kind of broke up in a way, but really they just changed their name to Tension. Put out the Breaking Point record in '86, then kind of broke up right after that. But years later, as the band Deuce, there was a compilation album that came out called it was a self-titled record in '97, which had like everything from all the demos. Such a great band. They still are together today, but they really, if anything, do anything ever. And I think we had all the members of the band on at one time or another. Tom Gaddis, he's like a scientist or something these days. Works at Los Alamos, like out in the desert over there where they built the nuclear bomb. Yeah, really nice guy and a smart guy. Hopefully they can do more because I'm such a big fan of those guys, and I love to hear new music by them. All right, how about we just jump into some? Let's do. Let me see what I got here for you. I gotta get some music uploaded because, like I said, it was my grandson's christening today, and I get a chance to jump into the music. So let me do what I have on here already. We got some Max Warrior lined up, high on metal, and then I'll upload some more songs. So bear with me here. Leather Bitch, Betrayal. I mean, I love those guys. We had Joel Starr, the singer of the show, on here about 4 years ago when the first record came out, Into the Night. I believe that was in 2019. The pandemic kind of set the band back. It was really a great record, and this new one, Shattered Vanity, comes out on June 22nd. I'm going to reach out to Joel, try to get him back on the show if I can in July, because we've already got June pretty much done now, and most of July is filled up too, but I think we got to make one spot maybe towards the end of the month, so we'll reach out to him. All right, we're going to get on one more set of music before we give Paul a call. We'll get that interview out of the way first, then we'll talk to Richie after that. I saw that Anton Bray, Abaddon from Venom, is saying, never say never to a reunion. It might happen, but I hate to tell him, he's been fighting cancer now for a couple of years, and I wish him the best of luck with that. I've had it myself. I know it's a really tough battle, but I think he'll kill it. But I don't think there's going to be a Venom reunion. I mean, we had Mantis on the show a couple of months back, and he was like, it'll never happen. It'll never happen. We don't talk to each other. We don't get along. We tried it once before. So I don't see it happening. But you can never say never in this business because stranger things do happen. But Kronos is in control of that band right now, at least the Venom name, the real Venom name, not Venom Inc. And Kronos, I think the last time Venom actually had a tour, if you could call it a tour, it was 5 shows in 2017 somewhere in South America. They did 5 shows over the course of a week. That was the last time they did anything that you could consider a tour. They just do festivals today. I mean, they do maybe 7 or 8 a year, but that's all they do is festivals. So Kronos goes out there, he plays in front of maybe 10,000 people at a festival. He's off for a couple of months, does another one. So I don't see him wanting to get back together with these two guys either and go through all the bullshit that they went through. Mantis told the whole story when he was on the show, so if you want to go back, I think it was of September last year we had him on the show. If you want to go back to the archives and listen to that show, but I don't think it's going to happen. I'm lucky that I got to see the band live, in the early 80s, the original lineup, and I saw the lineup that didn't have Mantis in it. I think he got sick at that time, it couldn't come over, and they had like a fill-in guitar player, but I was lucky enough to see those guys early on, and it was a thrill. So let's get back to the music. How about some Have Mercy, Death Watch? All right, Eddie wanted to hear some violence. There's Colin in the coroner. We'll talk about violence later with Bobby Gustafson. He was out there talking about how things just didn't work out because of the expenses of him traveling, but it has to be more to it than that because a lot of bands have to travel. Members in different bands do it, and I don't think that was the main reason. It might have been one of it, but violence just seems to be falling apart as we speak. So who knows? All right, our friends at Heaven and Hell have done it again. They've reached out to Draxxis and released an amazing compilation record of all their own material called Book of Life. Let's get on a song off the new release. This is called Tides of Destiny. While we do this, I'll get Paul on the line and we'll get this interview going. right, let's get Paul on the line right now. Bear with me here a second while we dial him up.
Yes, hello.
Paul, this is Mike. You're live on the air. How are you?
Mr. Mike Catricola.
Yes,
Pleasure and
sir.
honor to talk to you, sir.
The pleasure is mine, especially being such a big fan of this band for so many, I hate to say years, because it's actually decades now, but I'm glad that this material has gotten the re-release that it kind of deserves.
Yeah, it's awesome. Thanks to good old Mr. Jeremy Golden, Heaven and Hell Records.
Yeah, I'm glad. Jeremy over there at Heaven Hell does an amazing job in all the releases, from the artwork to the remastering, the packaging, and this is just another piece of fine work that they've done. And how do you feel about, people like, talking about Draxxis again after all these years?
Man, it's incredible, 30 years gone by. You think, it's kind of sputtered out, and then, like I said, I heard from Mr. Jeremy there, Golden, last fall, and he talked about putting this back together and everything. I said, great, let's go for it. It's just awesome, I must say.
It really
Fans
is.
love it, too. It gives them a chance to get back into it, relive some time, seeing some old faces. We had a CD release signing party, I don't know, about a month ago or so. Got to see a lot of nice faces we used to know.
That's fantastic. So, I mean, let's kind of take it back to the mid '80s. The band sort of formed around '85. The Cooter brothers kind of put this thing together. You joined up, and what happens then? I mean, you're talking about '85, '86, '87. Metal was like in its prime back then. I mean, it couldn't get any bigger than it was.
Was it ever?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, those were the great years. Yeah, I was a big fan of Draxxis before I got with them. They had a guy, Mr. Melvin Shears, sang for them, and he went on his way, and I used to stop out practice all the time. I always said, oh, man, if I could get with them guys, it'd be freaking great. And, well, it worked out good.
And you were just a kid back then, too, weren't you? Like a teenager.
Oh, hell, I was still in high school. 1987, I still had a few months to go. We threw together, got a little monitor system going, and started doing covers, everything, and then we dabbled into our originals, and, well, just kept going from there, brother.
Yeah. Were the rest of the guys like much older than you at that point in time?
Oh, yeah. They were, it varied from 2 to 5 years or so. A bit more, yeah. I was still in high school, and hell, they could go to the bar.
Well, back then, being 2 years older than somebody else, you were in a whole nother generation. Today it's not like that, but back then it was.
Well, that back then I could go into the bar with them, but you know how that was.
I know.
Whole different world.
It really was. But so, like, now you step into the band. Like I said, you were a fan of the guys before you were able to join them. So, like, how do you approach that role now? You're a young kid. You're joining an established band with much older guys. Do you go in there kind of say, hey, this is how we have to do things? Or do you just kind of sit back and, feel your way around to see, like, what's happening?
Well, like I said, I'd followed them for years, so I pretty much saw how they operated, everything. And everyone said, oh, weren't you paranoid, scared, sing in front of people? I just knew I had an awesome group behind me. I could sound terrible, and they would just cover. These guys were so far advanced in the area, I must say.
Yeah, but you didn't sound terrible. That was the whole thing. You had a great voice.
Well, back in the day, like you said, that was the highlights of the type of metal I like and everything. You had all your greats back then. It was just so easy to go with.
True. Well, you get together now, you write music. Like I said, you started with the covers like a lot of bands do. You go into original music. And now you go into the studio and you record that first demo tape. Was it everything that you hoped would it be?
Oh, yeah, it was great. Actually went back in. I got pushed back. I was supposed to do my vocals in the evening, and I don't know, how vocals go. They said, well, you have to come back tomorrow morning about 10. I'm like, 10 in the morning? What the hell, man? I can't sing in the morning. So we did it and everything, and, well, I went back later that week in an evening. It was about 150 miles away over Susquehanna Sound there. There were some great people, and Reed did it all, and the rest was history. Just the vocal parts, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. But you know what? When you think about it, it didn't really last much longer. At least that lineup didn't last much longer after that.
Well, a little while.
Was trouble brewing, or just members just didn't want to be a part of it no more? I think it was probably Dan and Bill that left the band.
We went through some changes. Yeah, Dan and Bill. Well, Dan left. He still had his wanderlust going, so he went out, did some exploring, and then things kind of fell apart a little bit, and then Bill ended up leaving, and then we got with our second formation with Dave and Jim, which was kind of the same but different. As you can hear, the first four songs on the CD are the new lineup, and then the last four were the original lineup. But they're all my favorites, so I hope you don't ask me to pick one.
No, I would never do that. They all are Draxxis
Sure you would.
songs because your voice kind of like defines the sound of the band. But yeah, two different songwriting groups, so naturally, there's going to be a different vibe to them.
Yeah, it was a little more melodic, the second one. Dave, he was one guitar player. He come up with some odd-looking chords, that, well, as you could hear in some, like House Full of Nightmares. I just think his chord pattern and everything, it just sounds like so Tarantino or something. Like you'd hear some of that stuff on Kill Bill, in the different parts or something.
Yeah,
It was different at the time. It was fun. That was
absolutely.
the 90s at this point, though.
It was. It was like the original EP of Book of Life came out in '93, and it was a change in music scene. I mean, metal was still popular. It was still big. It hadn't completely turned over yet to grunge and the new sound that was coming out. It was still kind of like there, but it was right at the cusp of that change, and that must have really affected the band, I'm guessing.
Well, it sure was. Like I tell people, it was grunge and karaoke that kind of killed metal there for a few years, because, we used to go to the bars and play. Well, why hire a whole band when you can just get, some guy to come in and do some karaoke? And then, of course, grunge took over. And, of course, that time, I don't know, my opinion, hair metal had got pretty long in the tooth.
Yeah, yeah. That's what was
That
going
was
on.
mid-'90s.
So after the EP, was that kind of it for the band? Was it because of the change in the scene of music that you guys just folded up, or was it talk saying maybe we should adapt to like what's happening now, or did you just kind of feel it ran its course at that point in time?
Well, it just made things, I wouldn't say difficult, but it was all changing. And plus, at that point in our life, people were getting married and kind of doing their thing, and it had kind of run its course there for a while. It was almost a good 15-year run there.
It really was. People don't. You tell people the band was together that long, like nah, no way. All they had was a. I'm like, no, they were together for a long time between the two lineups.
Yeah, there was never any real like personal conflict. Well, I don't know. When you're in a band, it's like, I don't want to say you're married. It's more like brothers, but that many years, you just get to know people that much, and things fade, things ebb, flow.
Yeah, sure. Pennsylvania is a really big state. I mean, how was the scene in your area of Pennsylvania at that time? Because a lot going on in New York, a lot going on in LA. Places like Texas had a great scene, Chicago. But how was the Pennsylvania metal scene in that area at that time? Because it could take 8 hours to travel from one side of the state to the other.
Oh, no doubt. Oh, no. In this area, we're a little ways away from Pittsburgh, and of course, we used to go down to Pittsburgh. It was freaking kicking back then. There were so many great metal bands and just the whole scene. It was a very good area around here. There was no problem there. You could always, every weekend, it was a rock and roll reporter. You just couldn't wait to get it to see who was playing where.
Yeah,
Pretty much a lot of cover bands, but a lot of bands, had some of the original stuff too.
was it hard to break into that club scene as an original band where a lot of club owners really wanted the cover band because I figured that was going to bring people in to buy drinks. That's all they were interested in at the time, really.
Well, that had a little bit of problem there too, but the clubs, people pretty much knew what they were getting into. There was a great one down Polish Hill in Pittsburgh called the Electric Banana, and like everybody from the dawn of man has played there. And we were fortunate enough, we used to go see bands there, and of course we were fortunate enough to play there. And a bunch of other different places. City Limits where Dio, everybody played there, just as a young kid, this is just such an honor, to be hanging on these stages where these guys graced them, our heroes. It was
True.
great. Pittsburgh area was great.
I look at the material you guys released back then. I've always been amazed by what you put out. Was there anything else recorded back then that we didn't get a hold of or didn't hear?
Basically basement tops and stuff. We have, basement, recorders and stuff. We have a lot of songs that haven't seen the light of day yet, but recently we've been, dusted off the old equipment and everything, and Greg Baggs, we call him, the master guitar player there, he's got a lot of recording equipment and stuff, so hopefully we can maybe throw some stuff together here.
That would
We'd
be
really
great.
love to do maybe a show before the old end of summer or something, just to throw a set in somewhere here and there. That's what we're working towards now.
So I'm guessing the band is officially back together. I mean, what would the lineup be today?
Well, I would call that loose, because everybody still kind of has their own thing going, together. But Chuck, the drummer, and Greg, they said they've been out there getting together. Chuck, he's on the electronic drums now. He just likes the way he can make them sound and everything.
Yeah.
So they're getting that all honed in, and Greg's into his new system. He's more of a prog metal guy now, but he got a taste for the old stuff, of course. Of course, we're not going to come out sounding like Dream Theory, write something different, but
Yeah.
to go stick to your roots, stick to your roots. That's what we're going to do.
And I know Jim passed away some time back, and Dave is still around.
Yeah, that was sad
Yeah.
thing. Yeah. Yeah, Dave's still around. He's kind of in the loop, just doing his thing. And Dan, he's around. We all live within, I'd say, a 12-mile circle.
Yes, that's
Just
pretty
everybody's
good.
kind of doing different things, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, like, going back to the early days of the band, I mean, was there any interest from labels anywhere else, or did you try to shop, the music around to gain some interest? It was a different time. We didn't have social media back then.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say too. Back then, well, we had our promo packs. Had to have your picture, your lyrics, your cover sheet, all that. We sent out quite a few of them. Did college radio stuff. I don't even know. Maybe the local, Pittsburgh station might have played it at 2:30 in the morning or something. But no, there was never. It was kind of a dying scene at the time. Just in the area, and like I said, we did send out a lot of promo packs, but no great responses.
Yeah, and you guys self-released that EP originally, didn't you?
Sure. Yeah, two of them. We formed our own, a record label, Kicking Records, and just copyright stuff and just threw it everywhere we possibly could. Had a great fan, base, everything, but that was about it.
Yeah, not an easy thing to do to release your own music, especially back then, having everything done on your own.
Right. And there were so many, indie startup stuff. Now there's just so many outlets with the internet and everything. So much great music that, back in the day, you would have never heard of these people, And you do music a great service. I love your intros you had before us. Those are some killer songs.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Just trying to keep it alive. I mean, it's doing pretty good these days. We've
Oh,
come out of
yeah,
that
yeah.
downtime, but it's important to me to keep the stuff from the 80s going because that's where I grew up and that's where I came from. So, I love it.
Oh, yeah. You do it a great service, Mike, I must
Yeah.
say.
And when Jeremy told me, he goes, I'm going to, think about getting the Draxxis stuff out there. I was like, holy cow. As I remember, I think it was in 2015 or 16, there was another compilation that came out by some Greek label, but I don't think you really were involved in that.
No, that was Dan. He actually did that on his own with a fellow from Greece. Yeah, but what was nice was eventually got some Draxxis on vinyl, though. It sits down in my game room. It's like a trophy. I really would like to get with the fellow in Greece and get, him to release this on vinyl also. A lot of vinyl fans out there, of course. I'm sure you have your collection of vinyls laying around.
Absolutely.
You probably have a whole room full.
I got a lot. Until my wife finds out where they are and throws them out to make room for something else, I'm pretty good.
You need to get a better lock.
Absolutely. So, all these years go by and we're talking about Draxxis and did you think people just completely had forgotten about the band? Just never even remembered who you guys were because, besides that release in 2016 until this new one, it's just like there's a whole new legion of fans coming to the band with this Book of Life re-release.
Yeah, life went on, and I don't know, people. I'm sure it was somewhere deep in the old memory vault. But yeah, everything kind of went super cold, and now it's just a great new spark, I must say. Just trying to get it in front of as many people as possible.
Yeah, I'm sure it will be, and we're going to keep playing it over and over again to get people to buy it. But, Paul, when you think about the time that, when Dan and Bill kind of parted ways with the band and they had formed that band and you had joined later on, was it hard for you to keep it going? Was there any friction or tension that you decided to keep it going and take over the name of the band?
No, I don't think so. As a whole, we were Draxxis. Yeah, they were a big part of coming up with the name, everything, but we were just, had some new material. We was getting ready to go into the studio again within a year or so, so there was no doubt about keeping going, and I just couldn't see changing the name. I don't know. Maybe we would have just put a dot in there and called it Dr. Axis or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Where did the name of the band come from? Because it is one of the most original names out there.
The fellow Jamie Freeman come up with it. I don't know if in your area there's a thing called the Draxxis Foundation. I think people have heard of it. It helps out troubled kids, and I think, people on drugs and all that. So they just kind of threw a D on there instead of Abraxas. They just called it Draxxis. They're like, well, that sounds pretty cool,
It does.
Yeah, it's like, well, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I spent like 30 years racking my brains out, looking up that word, trying to figure out where the hell it came from. It just didn't exist
Well,
anywhere.
now you Google it. Hell, there's stuff on, what the hell is it? uh, wizards and all that different shit. Now they use that name. I think there's the names come about, but I think we had the word first.
I think so. I mean, it goes back a long time now.
Oh yeah, yeah, no doubt. Wizards and Warcraft or all whatever that shit was. I see that on the internet. If you Google it, you know.
Yeah. Well, the band's over now in the mid '90s. Did you just kind of give up on music altogether after that, or did you continue on with anything else?
Oh no, no, no. When that was ending, I got with some buddies. They were younger than me. Like as I was big fan of Draxxis. They were like the original Draxxis. They used to come to our shows and stuff, and they had a band going, and it was one of the funnest times. They were called Simple Doom. We had a little 4-song thing we put together, but it was just a fun time, just doing all those early songs. They were hungry again, a lot of covers, I must say, but it was just a really good time after Draxxis. Kind of needed to decompress and keep going. Then after that,
I
I
have to look
sang
that
with a
up.
couple different things.
I never heard of that one. I have to actually look that up. And so there was some original songs that were recorded for that then.
Yeah, actually, the sad part is, there's 4 of us in it, and we won a battle of the band, so we got some studio time back then, and we put together a 4-song. It was on cassette, of course, and everybody's just digging everywhere. We can't find the original cassette, to get it
Yeah.
remixed and everything. But we will find it. I got one, but it sounds like freaking chop suey on a cheap tape, whoa and going.
Well, that,
But
that
we
tape
will work
stretches
on
out
that.
over 40 years.
Oh yeah, no doubt about it. Yeah, I kept going, but it's just going to be awesome to start jamming with Draxxis again. I must say, just great bunch of guys.
It is. So you think we'll get new music somewhere down the road if this all pans out? I mean, is that the goal, is to write new music now, maybe record a new record and try to get out there maybe on some of the festivals? I'd love to have, some of these classic 80s bands on there.
Well, you could never say never. Yeah, I'm hoping, first step, like I said, got the equipment all dusted off and everything, and they've been kind of working towards it, and hopefully this coming Friday get out there and throw some vocals down through the system and see what happens.
And that'd be fantastic. Musically, where do you
Oh, it
think the
really
band is?
would.
Where do you think the band is at today musically? Is it going to be able to, kind of recreate what you did back in the day, or are you just looking at it from where you are now, and in this decade?
Uh, the band is what it is. That'd be like, Motorhead going something. Well, of course, they did do some different stuff, but you know what I mean? We are what we are. It'll be just a continuation. It was starting to get good. I think it can get a lot better.
Do you think you could dust off some of those old basement tapes that you had and maybe rework them?
Well, I think we would just take some of those songs. I mean, we got just so many songs. We were, pretty much ready for a deal, and we had plenty of material to do a full-length CD back in the day and everything, plus some. And then after that, me and Greg and Chuck and then Jim used to get together, and we made some more pretty good stuff in the vein of Drax. It's never going to change with old Grandmaster Greg. He kind of big songwriter, and Chuck, he's the timepiece. And you
Absolutely.
get old Billy Cuda back on that bass. He was like, his hero was Steve Harris, as you can probably tell.
Oh, yeah.
You had a lot of people in the second 4 songs that say, "Oh, that bass is it's just kind of dirty." I said, "Well, that's the way it's supposed to sound." The guy in the studio is like, "We got to change that up, or that's just going to sound like slappy stuff." We're like, "Don't you change a damn thing, guy."
Yeah. Did you find that to be an issue with people wanted to change the way the band sounded when it came time to recording?
They kind of give us, input a little bit here and there, and then 99% it was good, but trying to change up, like the bass sound and everything, that just wasn't going to happen.
I get that.
That's the way it was meant to be.
Well, with the new Book of Life re-release, which came out a few months ago, technically officially, Heaven and Hell Records. How do you feel about the whole thing from start to finish? I mean, I think they did an amazing job, like they do with all their releases. Love the artwork and the album cover. I mean, I feel like that's something that should have been on that record years ago.
Oh man, it's just awesome. All those guys at Heaven and Hell, Steve's artwork, Jamie's remastering. It was just awesome the whole time. And of course, I'm sure you spoke with Jeremy many times. He's a great guy. Hell,
Absolutely.
I get on the phone with him. They made it so simple, and just watching the artwork come together, and from the the thumbnails and little scratchings of it, and from what it progressed to, I just couldn't have asked for any more. I think it's just awesome. It goes down in the annals of my history. That's for damn sure.
It's definitely a great record. Hey, Paul, I'm going to let you go in a few minutes because I want to play some music off the album. I have another guest waiting in the wings, and it's Father's Day, so I want to wish you a very happy Father's Day. Such a big fan of Draxxis, and I can't wait for more to come out. When it does, come back on the show. We'll do this all over again, and we'll pick up where we left off with the history of the band.
I would love to. Okay, hey, it was awesome talking to you, Mike. You, like I said, you do metal a great service. Keep it up.
You guys keep it up. You keep me in business with all that music.
All right, guy. You have a good night.
You too, Paul. Take care. Bye-bye. All right, let's jump into the title track of that record. Here's Book of Life.
Throw the softest tranquil life.
right, Draxxis Book of Life. I want to thank Paul for being on tonight's show. We got Richie Scarlet, formerly of Freely's Comet, coming up in about a half hour or so. I told him he can call in early if he wanted to, but we'll see what time. I think we were set for 7:30 Eastern Time. I'm just trying to get everything in front of me organized because I usually, the day of the show, come in the morning to the studio and work out a playlist, get the song set up to go. But like I said, it was my grandson's christening today, so we were in the church all day and then out in the restaurant. So I didn't have a chance to like a minute before to get everything kind of set. So forgive me and bear with me if I get a little tongue-tied here today because I'm trying to do like 10 things at once. All right, we're going to keep the music flowing here until Richie calls in. You know, there's no show next week, no live show next week or the week after that. We'll be leaving for vacation in a couple of days. I wasn't going to have anything on, but like I said last week, I had a couple of interviews set up for this week that I wanted to do, and I didn't want to hold on to them until we came back because we have a lot of guests lined up for July when I get back. David Elfson of Dieth or Deeth, or whatever the hell the name of that new band he has is here. Richie Faulkner of Judas Priest will be on the show in July. Madeline Michelle will be on the show. Oh my God, I love her band, Bloodstar. And we got a few other guests, kind of like semi-confirmed. But next Sunday night, Stu Marshall of Night Legion and Harry the Tyrant Conklin of Jack Pans. We're talking to Harry about the new record. I'm going to record both of these interviews this week. Stu is in Australia. I think he's like 14 hours ahead of us over there. And Harry's in Greece these days. So that's about 7-8 hours ahead of us here in New York. So I got to try to coordinate these two interviews so I can do them as like we're doing a regular live show and just record it and put it on. Because I don't like when I just like upload music and stick interviews in there. I try to put the pre-recorded shows on like they were a live show. So it doesn't like sound any differently. So I'll figure that out tomorrow before we record on Wednesday. And then the week after that, July 2nd, it's our 4th of July show, Revolution 1776, an all-American metal music show, so don't forget to tune in for that. And like I said, we're back live on the 11th of July with David Elfson, and I'm not sure who the other guest is yet. I'm almost ready to confirm it, but I'll let you know during the week. All right, how about we do some Blacksmith? It's been a while since I've played them on the show. Here's Louder Than Hell. All right, that was Allied Forces. That comes off of the Day After record from 1986. The band went out of the Netherlands, and they put out a lot of demos from like 81 or 82 up until about 85, and they finally got an album released on Steel Hunter Records in 1986, and then kind of fell apart the next year. I think they got back together once or twice, but it was very short-lived. They were a great band. I think by the time the record came out, it sounded a little blasé to a lot of people, but, you know, they were doing that for many years before then. Just couldn't get signed or couldn't get a record deal, and, you know, that's kind of the story of most bands. Before that, Medieval Steel with Heaven Help Me and Blacksmith Louder Than Hell, another album that was re-released by Heaven and Hell Records quite a few years back. All right, it's time for our Demolition segment. This is a band called Baron Steel. They were out of Texas. I want to say it was like around the mid-'80s, 85, 86 the band formed. The only thing I remember that they had was their first demo from 1987. Somewhere down the road later on, people started calling it the Minotaur's Lair demo. It was only 2 songs, and that was it. But then I think about in 2015, Texas Underground Metal label record kind of put out a compilation which had that demo and a bunch of unreleased tracks. I had a few of them from like some rehearsal tapes that I traded for back in the day, but I actually never bought that album. I have to go pick it up, see if it's still out there, maybe just download a copy somewhere. But they were a pretty decent band, you know. They didn't really go nowhere, but that's kind of the way it goes these days, right? But here's our Demolition segment tonight. Baron Steel out of Texas, Night of the Wolves. Shot full of rock. Frehley's Comet, or Ace Frehley, from the Trouble Walking record back in 1989. Richie Scarlet played on that record, and we'll talk to Richie in about a minute or two, I guess. So I'm not going to play any more songs. We'll just wait for him to call in, and we'll get that interview going with Richie. I tell you, I haven't been a big Metallica fan since the late '80s. I'm one of those guys that's like, when Cliff died, the band kind of died with him type of person. But, plus like the Black Album kind of changed the sound of the band, and everything they did after that, I just did not care for. I've been playing some of the stuff off the new record. It's definitely one of the better ones out of, whatever they've put out since the Black record. But I've been catching a lot of video clips of them on their new tour. And I have to tell you, they don't sound too bad. I mean, I couldn't take James's voice anymore because he lost that toughness, that rawness that he had in his voice. He tried to become a more polished singer with the Black Album, and it kind of took away from that intense energy of the old songs. But watching some of these new live clips of them out on this tour, I mean, he kind of has it back a little bit on some of those older songs. At least he's trying to recreate that old voice again. So I was kind of happy about that, and they did sound pretty good. If they could just get Lars to sit down and be the drummer and try not to be the front man, the side man, and every other man in the band, that might be better. Lars has got to stand up and play the drums on every song because he just wants people to see him. Maybe it's a short complex thing or something, I don't really know. But sit the fuck down and play the drums. You don't need to stand up during every song. That's what your singer is up there for. Let James worry about that. But they are sounding good out there, I have to say that. I think they're in a pretty good place, the band, right now. I just wish they would have taken out like more of the underground bands with them on tour. They got Eddie Van Halen's son, Mammoth Van Halen, when I open up for them, and I can't even remember who the other band is. And there's another band on there, I can't remember who it is. The more of the newer generation type of bands. Bring out some of the classic bands that you toured with back in the 80s that are still playing today that would kill for the opportunity to play in a stadium. Even if you brought just one band on for each show as like a special guest appearance and kept what you have as the opening acts. Like if you're in California, get a band from there, New York, a band from there. There are so many great underground bands like throughout the country and throughout the world that would love that opportunity. And you figure Metallica being who they are and where they came from, and the same thing happened to them, you would return the favor, but they just don't do that. I know it's a business thing, and they a lot of these bands pay to get on these tours, and it's just the way it is. But it would be nice to see like Ruthless, open up for them when they play out in California, or Attack if they come over here to New Jersey. It would just give that band such a boost and such an opportunity that they probably would never have. And these are bands that have been going at it for like the last 30 or 40 years, pretty continuously. So that would be nice. Will it happen? Of course not. But, hey, you could dream. Hey, listen, they did that show with Raven. They kind of recreated the Kill 'Em One for All tour. That was pretty cool. So, maybe in the future we can get something else like that again. It would be nice to see the one, when they played with Megadeth and Anthrax and all those other bands here in New York. But, like I said, it's just a pipe dream. I really haven't been paying much attention to the metal news this week because there's not much going on over here. I'm trying to get some stuff together for the interview with David Ellefson. There are a lot of stupid questions I want to ask him because they're just funny. But, because this interview was set up by, the radio marketing firm that's representing the new record, and I work and deal with them a lot, I won't do that, but we'll figure out something. All right, Richie's on the line. Let's connect him right now. Richie, this is Mike. You're on the air live. How are you?
Hey, Mike, how are you, baby?
Hey, anytime I talk to a fellow New Yorker, it's always a good thing.
Yeah. So I understand you're from Brooklyn.
Brooklyn. Well, these, the last 30-something years, Staten Island, but originally born and bred in Bensonhurst.
There you go. All right, man.
So it's always good to have a fellow. And listen, I've been a fan of your guitar playing and your music going back to the first record, and I'm happy that you're still doing it. And we got new music I hear coming out this year.
Yeah, I've been recording some new tunes that I'm really happy with, and having them shooting for the fall to have a single release with I got Total Vision Music now behind me, and they're going to be just pushing the hell out of it, and I'm happy with what I'm what the tunes are coming out like, so that's a good thing. It's always a good thing.
Yeah, that's important. Well, since Hit for Hit, you've always been one of the hardest rocking guys I know, and you do your music does go all over the place in the rock genre. It's like with this new music, I mean, where is it at in your career? Is it stuff that like new stuff that you've been kind of working on that you want to get out there? Is it is it true Richie Scarlet hard rock and roll?
Yes, yeah. This new tune is called The 7-Year Itch, and which is based on the Marilyn Monroe movie with the same name, but tune's really heavy, Mike, and not metal, but really hard rock.
Yeah.
That's really what I was always based in, and you know, I grew up with bands like Black Sabbath and people like that. But like you said, my genre does go all over because I'm a songwriter and I try not to just pigeonhole myself into one thing. I play a lot of instruments and I like all kinds of music, but I would definitely like it to rock hard, man, no doubt.
Well, I mean, look at
Yeah.
the people you've played with over the years. I mean, Sebastian Bach, Ace. I mean, freaking Mountain. I mean, you played bass with Mountain, but I mean, Corky and excuse me, I got to guess there. Corky and Leslie West. I mean, how does it get when you go to your grave? How do you say I played with Corky and Leslie West? I mean, and Chubby Checker on
Well,
top of that.
yeah, Chubby, yeah. I currently play with Corky Lang. We've been we toured Europe at the end of last year. We have a pretty big tour in 2024. It's called Corky Lang's Mountain. And so now I am playing, guitar, obviously.
Yeah.
But I did play bass with the two of them for 8 years and just toured Europe constantly. And I was a big Mountain fan and a big Leslie West guitar fan, that's for sure. So, yeah, I mean, I've been very fortunate to be able to play with a lot of different people that I grew up listening to, as a kid, including Mountain. And so, to play with Corky Lang, he's still slamming the drums, and it's just a lot of fun. You got to have fun, Mike. If you're not having fun, then it's time to move on. But fortunately, I had fun with all the different artists that I performed with through the years, and that I hope that I helped contribute somewhat towards their music. And I've been very fortunate and just very lucky to be able to, just live this wild life that I've lived.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's funny because rock and roll really is the center of everything. Because sometimes it seems like the hardest genre. I mean, heavy metal formed out of hard rock, and hard rock kind of came out of the blues, but like hard rock is really the center of all music. But yet sometimes it could be the hardest of the genres, to make a dent in.
Yes, and you called it right. It all came from the blues. People like Howlin' Wolf and Muddy Waters. There'd be no Rolling Stones or Yardbirds or the Animals or any of those 60s bands if it wasn't for those cats way back then, the Chicago blues and the Delta blues. So I tap in, I'm a fan of that too. And I grew up with British blues guitar players like, Clapton and Jeff Beck and, people like that. And they took that Chicago blues and kind of, amplified it through a Les Paul and a Marshall. But those riffs go back to Freddie King, Albert King, B.B. King. And, so I'm like a mutt of all styles, but I always like it to rock hard. And it also has like my lead guitar playing is definitely based in a lot of that British blues stuff that came out probably, in the late 60s, early 70s style of guitar, which that's what I was kind of weaned on. And, of course, Jimi Hendrix, he just destroyed everybody, man. He's still my man, and he's still a huge inspiration as a songwriter and as a performer and obviously as a guitar player and just, the cool soul that he had, And so I very fortunate that I was able to absorb all these different styles and just try to, just go through life with it. And so here I am talking on your show, and I'm very blessed.
I'm sorry about that, but you had to be on here today. No, but listen, when you're that kid in the 70s, learning how to play an instrument and you're picking it up, do you say, at that point in time, do you say to yourself, this is it, this is what I want to do, I want to rock out, I want to be in a band, I want to be up on stage, I want the girls screaming and yelling for me, or do you pick it up back then and say, it's just a hobby to me, it's just something to do for fun?
No, me, like a million other guys, I started on drums, and when I started playing drums as a young kid, all these older, I used to play these, beer parties with much older guys than me, and all these girls would start coming up to me, and that's right there, that's always the beginning. It's like, well, this is a great way to meet girls, obviously. because rock and roll, there's, sex has a lot to do with rock and roll, and
Absolutely.
so when you're young and you're playing, but I think I realized it, and my mother really encouraged me, and my Italian and Irish aunts who would always tell me, Richard, you have a special gift from God. And at that time, I didn't, think about that. But as I went through life, I realized, everybody's given a gift. It's just a matter of tapping in on it. And I was fortunate enough to be able to tap into it. And I'm still, you can never get enough music or get to a point where, it's just a never-ending world of exploring and, new chords and I play a lot of different instruments, and I love playing piano and so it's something that I just, it was a natural thing. I used to go to all the shows at the Madison Square Garden and different places in the city when I was a young kid, and I just knew that was my calling. Anyway, I was fortunate to tap into that, and that was my calling, and thank God it was, because I've had an incredible life, and I got a new book out that actually traces my whole career, written by a guy named Jean Ramsey from Holland, and he did a hell of a job on this book, and you can order that book, Richie-Scarlet-book.com. And it's the guy did a beautiful job tracing back from when I was a kid, and then all the different New York bands that I was in, including Bonnie Parker band, and who was my rock and roll mentor. She really, I learned so much from her, how to work crowds and how to write songs, and so the book is fantastic. I'm really happy with it. I really had nothing to do with the book other than giving some quotes in it. But so that's exciting to have a book out. And, I'm also working on a biography. But, so the book is definitely the newest thing happening from, the newest chapter of my musical life.
And that's great. I'm going to put the links up for that on my site so people can go out and order that book and everything. But, Rich, you remember when you first got into the business part of it? I mean, was this anything you said to yourself where you said, holy shit, what the hell did I get involved in? I thought I was just going to get up on stage and play music and write music. Then you realize that there's this whole business model behind it. And, you say to yourself, what the fuck did I get into here?
You're absolutely right, because I played for many years, never really looking at rock and roll as a business, but it obviously is. But I never really looked at it as a business. I look at it as a creative thing of my life, an extension of myself, and writing songs. I produce a lot of people. I've produced a lot of bands through the years, and the business. It's like music business is like any other business. Just selling. You're trying to sell things, but I never got real heavily involved in the business, and I always just tried to be on the creative side. Most musicians are like that, and a lot of them get screwed over because of that, because of their naiveness. But I was never naive. I just never. It took me quite a few years to really, accept it as a business, because I hate that word. But it's a reality. I mean, obviously it is. But but I've mainly just played to have fun, man. Have fun in life and enjoy what I'm doing.
True, yeah. Being a kid, in the mid '70s, I had Kiss for the first time, and they were the be all the end all to me. It was like a comic book come to life. I mean, nothing was bigger or better than Kiss back then, and that's what it kind of got me into the harder rock stuff. And then I look years later, Ace is out of the band. That killed me when that happened, but a lot of shit was going on that as a kid you don't realize that it's all behind the scenes stuff taking place. Now you're a part of Ace Frehley's band, and people don't realize, they think when Trouble Walker came out, it was the first time you hooked up with Ace, but you were in the original lineup of Frehley's Comet, but nothing really came out at that time. But you were there from the very beginning of that band and that lineup.
Yes, I was, and I did the very first tour with Ace Frehley, like a 12-city tour or something of the Northeast, And for Ace, that it was it was the first time that anybody had ever seen him without makeup, and so and we toured, but we didn't have a record out or anything, and as time went by, I moved on, and then I came back, and I don't know what year it was, but Trouble Walking, I thought was a killer record.
Yeah.
I really was very proud of my contributions towards that record and the whole record. And I'd have to say that John Regan, who we lost recently, he was such a big part of producing that record. Eddie Kramer engineered it, and he also co-produced it. But John Regan was the one that really cracked the whip and on that record to get Ace and myself and Anton Fig, to all of us, really just kick ass, and so I'm very proud of Trouble Walking. But I was a member of the original Fraley's Comet, and that was very exciting, for me too, obviously. And I've done 3 tours of duty with Mr. Fraley, and I never really enjoyed playing with other guitar players that much, except for Ace Frehley. There's a chemistry that the two of us have always had, and it's just uncanny. I could go, years and years without playing with Ace, and then I get up to play with him, and it's like as if we've never, parted company. I always enjoyed playing guitar with that man, and I was involved with different things with Peter Criss also, and so you grew up as a huge Kiss fan. That's great.
Oh, absolutely. You worked with, Peter Criss only about 2 years ago. You did the Catman and the Empress single.
Yes, I did. Yeah.
That had to be a thrill. Because Peter hasn't done anything in a long time. He's kind of like, I guess, retired, you could say,
Yeah, I suppose. The record, unfortunately, some legal stuff came down with that, and it never really got the fruition or the light of day that it should have. But it still might, come out and bite some people on the ass one of these days.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
But the last record, the full length, I remember.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry, Rich. Get finished.
Well, I was saying I also played on a record of Peter's that never got released. I don't know why it wasn't released. There was some really good tunes on it, and and I forget about the record, but Kiss fans remind me of it here and there, and I don't know if we'll ever see the light of day, but that was also fun to just record with Peter, and he was always cool, and it's just time's just marching on, and I love doing different projects and different kinds of music and producing people and just staying as creative as I possibly can.
Good. I'm glad that there's new music come out. The last full length I can remember, I think, is Plead the Fifth. That's like 10 years ago. You had other stuff between them. That was like the last full length record that I can recall.
Yeah, I had a couple of records that came out that were kind of compilations of my material, of my catalog, that were remastered. But you're right. That was Plead the Fifth was my most successful record, and I had a #1 song from that record called "Without Your Love," and different people like Eddie Trunk, they pushed it and helped me, get a lot of airplay, and that was. It was called "I Plead the Fifth," Mike, because I'm always guilty, man. So. But I have I have another record that it's getting close to being done, and there's a lot of good tunes there, and today records aren't what they were years ago. You just you do singles and you put it out on social media and it gets downloaded. But this record that I'm doing now will be out on vinyl, different colored vinyl, and records came back, which was unbelievable.
I know. Did you ever think that was going to happen?
The vinyl. No, I never saw that coming. CDs came in, like that was it, and I still like CDs, even though nobody really gets them anymore. I still, in my car, I still like
Yeah.
pop a CD in and just get right to the track I want to hear. But vinyl did come back. A whole new generation of kids discovered it, and it's great. And I did not see it coming, but one of these days I got to go get a record player again. I don't even
That's
have
the
one.
problem. But you know what? Anything that gets people out buying stuff again is always a good thing. I mean, the last car
Yeah.
that I bought didn't even have a CD player in it. It was just for the
Right,
the
yeah.
USB. I'm like,
They
there's
don't
no
even
CD
make them
player in the car.
anymore.
I'm like, what, I got to wait for them to put out a car with a record player in it now?
No, you're right though. They don't make cars anymore with CD players. But I have a couple cars, and one of them has the CD player in it. And I kind of use that as my office because when I produce things, I go in my car and I sit there and I listen to different tracks that I record or things I produce, and I take notes. And it's like I don't have a CD player in my home, but in one of my cars they do, and I still like them. But it's cool that vinyl's back, and all the different colors and all that kind of stuff. So that will be coming out this fall. Total Vision Music, and I'd like to thank Dee Barlotta for helping me get all this stuff together, and even getting me on your show. And so look for this fall, and there's a website that'll be out just that will be explaining all this stuff about the new record, and that should be out this week actually. And so yeah, just staying, moving along. And I just got in from Philadelphia. I've been in Philly all weekend, working with this wild singer down there, and I got a show coming up, like a birthday bash show. Anybody that's in Westchester County, New York, Putnam County, that's going to be July 15th at 85 Route 6 at a place called PJ's. And it's just an old school rock place, bar, I guess you could call it. And it's always a lot of fun playing this. That's July 15th, Saturday night. So any of your listeners in the area, come on out and let's party.
That's it.
A birthday celebration.
Do you think that's what's missing from rock and roll today? I mean, rock and roll always came off as it was dangerous. Your parents didn't want you listening to it. There was that aura to it. And today it seems like it's just way too safe, and people are afraid to speak because they don't want to get canceled. We live in a woke society today. Paul Stanley says something which he felt was right and true. He had to back off and apologize on it. Dee Snider followed up and said you were right. They canceled. I mean, do you think that it's just, people just lost their balls today?
Yes, I think they did, and but I haven't, and I don't really care what rock and roll should have a danger to it and an attitude, and it lost that in the mid '70s. Things were getting really boring with all these bands like REO Speedwagon and Styx, all this, and then bang, then the Sex Pistols. They really kind of put that danger back in the music, and that was a lot of fun. But of course then it went from that to like new wave, and but you're right, people, because of the social media today, and everything has to be politically correct, a lot of people don't they don't really speak their mind, and there's a need for more attitude and danger back in rock and roll music. It gets very pasteurized and safe and run by different corporations and corporate things. I was never that kind of person. I never played that game. I just try to I always love to have attitude in rock and roll, and there should be a danger to it, like when it first came out. It's a very primitive art form, and the primitiveness is what I love about rock and roll. And so when things get too slick or it gets boring for me. I like to try to keep making things fresh, write songs that have an attitude towards it, and that's it. And I gotta like I have to. I write songs for myself, and if other people like it and they buy it, well, then that's the icing on the cake. So. Yeah, that's where I stand, and so that's it. I wanted to push the book on your show, and the show, and like I said, I'll be in Europe early next year with Corky Lang's Mountain, and life's good, Mike. So on that,
That's all that
I'm gonna let you
matters.
go.
You got it,
That's
Richie.
And just enjoy life, and I'd like to thank you, listeners, for the heavy metal mayhem, man. That's a pretty wild name, man. Well, mayhem. See, that's some radicalism right there, and just that name, has an attitude.
Well, I don't give a shit about nothing really, so that's why.
There you
I'm
go.
from Brooklyn. Come on, I'm from Brooklyn. We don't care about
Yeah,
nothing.
there you go. That's a beautiful thing, man. So I'd like to thank you, listeners, all the people that are in your chat room. Thank you for supporting me, and I can't thank you all enough. I'm very fortunate to still be here and doing what I love to do, and it's a beautiful thing, Mike. So thank you for having me on the show, and good luck with everything with what you're doing, okay?
Thank you, Rich. I'm looking forward to the new music, buddy.
All right, baby. I love you, Mike.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Man. All right. Bye-bye.
All right, Richie. So let's get on something off one of his solo records, and maybe we'll do a little bit more Ace. Here's Burning Through Life.
So you wanna be a rock and roll star? Do lots of drugs and eat caviar. Well, listen up, you got a lot to learn. Smash up a motel, then crash and burn. Your trendy clubs for the hell out of me. And all your poses are just wannabes. You'll spend the night in the local town, and Julie the dealer is on her way with the band. Burning through life like a flame. You got no pity, no sorrow, no shame. You woke up yesterday with your face in the street, and you pierced your lips, now you can't even speak. You got a photo shoot today at noon, but your face is blown up like a yellow balloon. Burning through life like a flame. You got no pity, no sorrow, no shame. Like Johnny Burgers on a subway train. His life was real while yours is lame. Yes, it's so cool, makes you look like a fool. But you got nothing. Number one, while you drive around town with a bottle and a gun, and Julie the dealer stole your guitar. That's the price you'll pay to be a rock and roll star. Burning through life like a flame. You got no pity, no sorrow, no shame. Like Johnny Bumpers on a subway train. His life was real while yours is. Burning through life like a
All right, I want to thank Richie, Scarlet, and Paul Revay of, excuse me, oh my God. I got such a guest pocket today. It's not even funny. And Paul Revay of Draxxis for being on tonight's show. There's no live show next week or the week after that, but there will be new shows uploaded. So 6 o'clock next Sunday night, you can come here and we'll have a brand new show for everybody. Stu Marshall of Night Legion, Harry Conklin of Jack Panzer next week, brand new show. And then our 4th of July celebration so on July 2nd. We'll be back July 11th. How about we close it out tonight with another song featuring Richie, Scarlet on guitar, Ace Frehley doing a cover of ELO's Do Ya. Take care, everybody. Have a great week. I'll see you 2 weeks from today. I'm heading over to Europe in a couple of days. I will see you guys then, and happy Father's Day.